Welcome to Living the Off-Grid Dream, where we talk about how to get land, start a homestead, a retreat, regenerative farm, or community, and live a life of health and freedom, even if you're starting with nothing like we did. We cover all this and how to be financially free while doing it, and the failures and lessons we have learned along the way. I hope you enjoy and subscribe.
You believed it was possible that I could raise this money, and I'm like, okay, I believe it's possible. I took the step, I invested in your program. And I'm telling you, that's what made it work. I know last year, we probably brought in about $2 million. And then this year already, about 1.2 million. So over $3 million We brought in since last year. So we got this property. I'm in Costa Rica, about 10 minutes east of Dominical. So we're in like southern Costa Rica on the Pacific side. So it was January 7th of last year was when we actually purchased the property. And then we had a home base, and it was real now. It was no longer just an idea. We actually really did have a village. We already bought a 50-acre property as well that we're like, all right, cool. Because we always knew, like when we came here and it was started to build, we knew this was a prototype. The mission was to birth the new earth. And this first village was a prototype to then expand it to, we're going to be building these villages all over the world. So we just needed something to dial it in and create something that worked.
Thank you for joining the call. I think this is super exciting. How you doing?
Great. How you doing?
Good. Yeah. No, things are pretty busy. We are actually about to go hike up our mountain tomorrow and go snowboarding. So that's going to be our weekend because everything's covered in snow, which I'm sure is not the case for you in Costa Rica.
It's not. Where are you at?
We're in BC, Canada.
Oh gosh! Wow.
Yeah. Other sides of the world, I guess.
Yeah. Cold's not my thing. And imagine my surprise when I get to Costa Rica and I find out there's no winter here. It's like always like 80 degrees all year round. I'm like, well, I didn't know that was possible. I thought I was just going to have to deal with winter the rest of my life, but nope, I don't. I get to just be, in nice weather all year. And that's nice weather for me. It's like 75, 80 degrees. So that's what I get all the time now. So I'm like, got a little Garden of Eden here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Definitely easier to set up, especially, doing the whole eco village thing and everything. Up here, we're stuck to about 6 months of building time, most of it. And the rest is like we're in 3 feet of snow. And at nights, it gets down to like negative 30 degrees Celsius. So it's, it's a battle sometimes.
Yeah, here half the year it rains every day, but the workers here they don't care. Like it'll be like pouring rain. They'll be out welding, right? Just like rain just pouring down. There's welding and just climbing up. It's wild, man. But they just keep going. I don't know how they do it. So it's always building, and then of course our food just grows. Like you like if you're eating an orange and you actually accidentally drop a seed out of your mouth, a couple days later, there's a tree grown. It's pretty
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I love it. I love the location. We got lots of people that want to do pretty much exactly what you're doing in Costa Rica. Obviously other parts of the world as well, but lots of interest in Costa Rica for sure. I'm sure all of the reasons that you're talking about now.
Yeah, it wasn't like a conscious choice for me. My wife and I, right before the lockdown happened, we just both got, this calling. I mean, it was literally, we were just very clearly instructed, go to Costa Rica. We didn't know the whole world was going to shut down, but we were like, go to Costa Rica. And so we booked a plane ticket, but we booked one because we wanted to book one. We had this feeling like the world was going to shut down, but we knew but there was no sign. Nobody told us that everything was going to shut down, but we just felt like we've only got like a matter of time. So we booked like the next flight that we could get, and it was all the way in Florida and we were in Texas. So we drove 13 hours across the country through the night to get on this plane, and then flew into Costa Rica. And then as soon as we landed, the whole world shuts down. They shut down all the flights. There was you couldn't fly. That was the last day you could fly into Costa Rica. At that point, they said, all right, everything's shut down. Nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's doing anything. And we're sitting here in Costa Rica. Like, well, why are we here? We didn't know why we were in Costa Rica. And then we hear, all the flights are shut down, and wherever you're at, you could just be there, inevitably, like or whatever you like indefinitely. And we're like, wait, so we could be stuck here forever? Like, what does that even mean? And then we're like, well, wait a minute, we could be stuck in Costa Rica forever. That wouldn't be bad, right? And so we kind of got used to it. And we were here for 4 months, but it was with just like a few days later. Once we were here, we were like, oh, I know why we're here, because when her and I met in 2016, 16 or 17, I can't remember the year, but we both had the vision for these villages, these off-grid villages. But we just kind of it wasn't time yet, I guess. And then once we were in Costa Rica, we both got, oh, that's why we're here. It's time to build the village. That vision is time to build. So that's how it started. And that's how we got to and that, now looking back, I get Costa Rica, I'm like, wow, I can see all the reasons why Costa Rica would be the place, but it's that I didn't choose it based upon that. It was just the call.
Wow. Beautiful. I love that story. Always love hearing stories like that with people in the community, because it seems like it happens very similarly for a lot of people, where it's really I know we've had our share of kind of intuitive experiences, or however you might want to phrase that for different folks. But yeah, I love that you guys followed that and that you made your way down there. And it sounds like you guys are having great success. So how the reason that we're even on the call right now is essentially, you're in our program, and you threw in a screenshot pretty casually into one of our groups about raising $1 million for your project. So yeah, I was curious, how much have you raised, and kind of whereabouts in Costa Rica are you?
How much of I don't know. We're probably at like I'm not a, a a real detail kind of guy. I know we've probably last year we probably brought in about $2 million, and then this year already about 1.2 million. So over $3 million we
Wow.
brought in, and since last year. So we got this property. I'm in Costa Rica, about 10 minutes east of Dominical. So we're in like southern Costa Rica on the Pacific side. Uh, but I mean, the story was wild. So that when I just told you about how we got to Costa Rica, well, then we went back to the United States. We got a reparation flight. The world was still shut down, but we got a reparation flight to go back and because we were like building a community in Austin, Texas, but it was just it was a community of people. Like, we weren't living together. It was just a community based upon like they're doing the inner work, doing like the work, right? And but we went back because two of our people were saying, hey, we're going to come down to Costa Rica. They were setting everything up, but then there was a couple more people said we want to come down, but the borders were closed. So me and Mel, my wife, went back up to the United States and said, all right, we're gonna all come back down together. So we went, because we would only had an hour to prepare before we left we didn't know we were going to build a village or anything. So we went to tie up some stuff in Austin for like a month, and then but the borders were still closed. So 7 of us all got in vehicles, and we drove across the country to San Diego, and we were going to sneak into Costa Rica. The borders were closed, but we knew we were supposed to be in Costa Rica. So we were like, we just got to find a boat that will sneak us in. And, we're just that kind of crazy, right? There's not a whole lot of people sneaking into third world countries. So I figure we probably get away with it. Most people are sneaking out of the third world countries, but we went to San Diego, and we found a boat that said, yeah, we'll take you down there, but it was 200 grand. We're like, we don't have no $200,000 to spend on the boat. So we're like, but half of it was fuel. It was 100 grand was just in the fuel, because there's this massive yacht. And so we're like, well, we can just go further south. But the only thing further south was Mexico. So we spent the next like 2 or 3 months driving through Mexico, and we just kept going further and further south until we got all the way to Puerto Escondido. And then there was a mafia town like 2 hours south, and we went to the mafia town. They had a bunch of yachts, and we found a yacht that would take us down there for 20 grand for the rest of the ride. And then we're like, all right, we're going to do this. And then literally the borders open, and we're like, we did all this work 2.5 months all the way down through Mexico to finally find our boat, to finally get to Costa Rica. And then literally that day the borders open. So then we drive to Mexico City, catch a flight, and, fly down to Costa Rica. So it was a wild journey to get here. but then we thought, then it was time to build a village. Like, but we kept trying to get up, and we were here for like a year and a half, 2 years or something like that. Probably like a year and a half of just it kept failing. Every time we're like, all right, this is our village, right? And then we'd get it under contract or something would happen, and just it just kept falling through over and over and over. And we're like, I don't know, man. I mean, we knew we were going to build a village, but we were like, I don't know how it's going to happen. But then there was this a property that showed that, because we were looking at properties all the time, but there was one we were just avoiding. We're like, nah, because we knew we were like, these villages were kind of like arcs, like for all the shit storm that's coming, like, we just, and so this property was right on like a main road, and we're like, that can't be it. So we never looked at it. We just completely kept avoiding this property. And then one day we were driving past it, and I was like, hey, let's walk in there and go look, because there was like a little chain, and I was like, we could just walk over the chain and just go take a look. And so we got out of the car, we start walking up there, and we walk across the chain, and then a motorcycle pulls up behind us, like, what are you doing? But they're speaking Spanish and we didn't speak Spanish, and like, but I knew for sale, say vende. So I'm like, say vende, and the guy's like, yeah, okay. So he told us if we go look at it. He's like, don't go into the restaurant, because everything's outdoor here. So there's an outdoor restaurant. He's like, don't go in the restaurant or it'll set off the alarm. And we're like, okay. He's like, you can look around, just don't go do that. And so we go up and we get like, we're 15 feet away from the restaurant, but we're kind of like looking, and then the alarms go off. We're like, oh shit. Like, we just blew it now. And we got to go. We get in our car ready to leave, or we start to leave. We're like, because we just feel like all ashamed. We just set off the alarms and all the crazy stuff. So we drive like 30 feet, and there's a guy comes walking across the road, is telling us to stop, but then he's holding up a string of keys, and and he starts pointing up at the property, and he's like, and we're like, is he saying he wants to show us around? And so he does it. He brings us and he shows us around the whole property. Turns out he was the owner of the property, and he showed us to us. And then that day we made a deal. Now, we didn't have it was $800,000, and we didn't have $800,000, but we knew we could come up with 250,000, and we made a deal where he financed the rest. We came up with 250 grand, and he financed the rest, and that's how we got started. And then so it was January 7th of last year was when we actually purchased the property. And then we just, finally we had a home base, and it was real now. It was no longer just an idea. We actually really did have a village. I mean, it was an old eco hotel like that. So it had like 10 or 11 casitas, but it was like all run down and beat up. The restaurant was all run down and beat up and everything. It's like really, kind of like dead feeling, but we were there, and we had a place, and we had a home base, and it was our home. Like, we did, after all that journey, like 7 of us going through Mexico, all the crazy stuff, we finally had a home. And then it just started to come alive. Like, we just were putting our love into it, and then all of a sudden money just started flowing in. And like, money, there was it was like 700 grand all of a sudden. And it was weird. Like, where the hell, where did this even come from? It was like wild. I mean, I know where it came from, but I didn't know how that happened. Like, what unlocked, like, how did it all of a sudden the money just started flowing in? And then we carved out a road on the property. We had a backhoe just come in and cut out a road. And because we were like, we're just going to build some casitas right there. As soon as we carved out the road, we had a contractor that started to created a design for these properties because they're like basically hanging off of a cliff, right? Because I didn't even know you could build right there. But this guy's like, yeah, we can build there, no problem. Like, okay. And so he made the design for it. And then he brings the blueprint, and I open up, I roll it out on the table. I'm like, opening up the blueprint. I'm like, all right, we're going to build these homes right up there. And literally 2 people said, all right, I'll take one. Like, so 2, like that, just unrolling the blueprint, 2 people. At that point, it was like, it was initially like 250. They both said it was going to be 250 grand. They wound up going more because they changed as we were building them. They changed the design. They wanted more added. So, but it was initially like, 500 grand just right there. Like, like just unrolling the blueprint. I'm like, well, that was easy. And then it's just kind of been, it's the flow's been on ever since, and things are building. Like these crews down here in Costa Rica, man, it's like I've never seen anything. They literally work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're happy. They're laughing and singing the whole time. Like it's pouring down rain, doesn't matter. They're there, and it's like everything's just, I don't know. It's definitely miraculous. The whole journey, it was a crazy journey, but once it popped, it's just miracles all around.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's incredible. Yeah. I love hearing these stories. I just feel like, it's always such a journey, and I feel like people are often scared of really taking that leap to start moving towards it, but that's when things actually start happening. I know for myself, for our project, I've wanted to do it since I was like 13 years old. So like the vast majority of my life I've been wanting to do this, but I kept trying to find funding through like I'd create other businesses. I would go work other jobs, and I've been through 16 jobs and 5 different businesses, and it was always beating around the bush and never going straight at it. And then as soon as we started actually like putting our intention to go straight for this thing, that's when all of those things started to unlock. And it sounds like for you guys, so it was roughly an $800,000 property, and you got how much of that? 550,000 of that was owner financed, so like a partial owner financing
Well,
deal.
we actually wound up, the deal that we made was we're going to give you $250,000 now, $250,000 in a year, $250,000 in another year, and $260,000 in another year. So it wound up being $1,010,000 for them to owner finance it to us. So that's how we got into the property, and we got gathered up to $250,000, and that's all we had at first. But then, when we started bringing in money, we just dumped it all right back in, and then so we actually had a payment, our mortgage, $250,000 mortgage payment that was coming up January 7th of this year, and we had already we had brought in, I don't know how much money we had brought in it, because it's like because we just had there's this thing that I say, faith untested can't be trusted. If you know how to do it, it doesn't take faith. If it doesn't take faith, it's not big enough. And I say, like if you're checking your bank account, if you know what you're supposed to do, but you're checking in with your bank account and saying, hey, can I do this? Then your money is your God. You can't let your bank account determine what steps to take. So you got to take the steps. And so I say that, so I got to live it, and I do. So I knew what we were supposed to do. We had to put a new roof on in order to put the solar panels on, and we just dumped everything in. And then we're coming up to time for the payment. We're like, I don't know where the payment's coming from, but I know it's coming. And literally, it came in like the day before we needed our payment. Just out of nowhere. So a lot of people are waiting for the door to open before they'll take the step, but they don't realize it's a motion activated door. It's waiting for you're waiting for it to move, for it to open, but it's waiting for you to move before it opens. So we just keep taking the steps. And like I said, just stepping in faith, providence moves, and literally the money just flows in as long as you stay on purpose. Now, if you start doing it for profit, then you're going to have to be in this conditional, weird, energy, but I'm full on purpose, man. I don't give a shit about profit. All I know is this is a purpose that I'm here for. I've got to birth this into the world. And like this is when me and my wife first came together. We both saw this vision, and we're like, we've got to give this to humanity, because nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come, and that it's the time for this. Like, what you're doing, and all of your subscribers, they know it. It's like, we know it's time, but people don't do what they should do. They do what they must do. It's a must now. We have to do this. And so go all in on that purpose. Don't worry about the profit. The profits will come as long as your purpose truly is a solution and an answer to the prayers of the people, and it works.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more or phrase it better than everything you just said. So I appreciate that for the inspiration and reminder for everybody. I love that. So I'm curious about how much land you got. So you mentioned that you started with the parcel now, and then you said you are also going for another 50 acres.
So we already bought another 50 acres. So this one's only 5 acres. But we can do a lot on 5 acre, a lot a lot of, well, like, so I think we'll probably max out at about 30 permanent residents here, but we have our personal development events and things that we do here as well. So we'll have uh 30 permanent residents, but we'll be able to bring in like another, places where like bunk rooms and things like that, where we can have, like another 30, 40 more can come through as well. But so we already bought a 50-acre property as well that we're like, all right, cool. Because we always knew, like when we came here and it was started to build, we knew this was a prototype. The mission was to birth the new earth, and this first village was a prototype to then expand it to, we're going to be building these villages all over the world. So we just needed something to dial it in and create something that worked. And what the biggest recipe on what it is that works is, it's time for people. We need to sever our dependency upon that sick system that's, is they're collapsing the dollar and about to move everybody over to this CBDC. Like everybody's a slave right now and don't know it, but once they go into the CBDC, it's really going to be like pure full-on slavery. And people will actually be able to see it, but there's nothing they'll be able to do about that time. But so I knew we need to sever our dependency upon the sick system, but upon the dollar, like all that stuff. And so that's what we're moving toward. But the thing is, we needed food, we needed water, we needed shelter, we needed energy, we needed community, and we need purpose. And the whole thing, it has to start with purpose. You build the community around the purpose, and then the food, water, shelter, and energy around the community. That's the order in which it has to go. That's the prototype. That's what we can, the recipe that actually works. Start with the purpose, build it, because I see plenty of people building communities, but it's just maybe they're just running away from something, or maybe they're just, they're not united, so there's no community because there's no unity in it. It's just, so.
Yeah. No, I totally feel that. And I love that you point that out, because I mean, communities projects are some of the hardest projects, because I mean, the two biggest points of failure that we've seen, working with now, I think over 3,000 people, it's been the financial factors, which is obvious, it just kind of like takes money to get these things going. And then is the human factors, which is generally people bringing people together, and then it just kind of all falls apart and they start arguing. And you know what I mean? Like there's so many like emotional, dramatic things that can go on, and disagreements and stuff like that. But I've always said that it's really like that's like a cultural solution, and purpose is the solution for that culture. And I love that you meant that, like, people running away from something. Well, we've actually experienced that quite a bit as well, having a community on our property where people are coming here because they're scared.
Yeah.
And we found that fear actually breeds like disruption into the entire community, whereas the people that are here out of love and purpose and here to give something back to the earth and the world and to each other, that is like the core foundation for a community to be built on. So I love I love the way you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we originally, before we started building the villages, it's like we're a personal development. That's what we do. It's our thing here. So our core message: your only job for being alive is to be you. The only way you can possibly fail is by trying to be something that you're not, and your difference is the only thing that can make a difference. So that's the core message, is to helping people find out who they are, because we're all creators conditioned to consume. We've been indoctrinated, domesticated, programmed to believe it. Like, we were programmed, preferences were programmed in, and we were convinced that what we prefer is who we are. But that was the programming that's got us doing that. And so people are just programmed to consume. And so we're like undoing all the program. That was the purpose of what we were before we built the actual physical, village. But I remember, because I'd start going to personal development events like Tony Robbins and things like that. And it was just so great to be around these people they're creators, they're coming to life. But then you'd leave the event, and then, well, now I'm back in Shitville over here with all these with all the negative Nancy's that got a problem for every solution, and I don't love this. Like, and then you kind of just get beat down in that world, and I'm like, what if what if we could do the work and then you don't have to go back into the dysfunctional world? What if you do the work and now you've done that? Now go live your dreams. Go, what the goals that you set, let's build them. And have a whole team that's supporting you. And that's what the village is all about, is the external manifestation of the internal work. But it's an inside out job. Like, again, when I'll see other communities, they're doing it from the outside. They're thinking, well, if we can just get our food, our water, our shelter, and our energy, then we're going to be okay. Well, no, that you got to get okay first, and then add those things to your okayness. So it's an inside job, and so what we are, that's actually the gift, that what we are, is the cultural development, is the doing the work, and the thing that we do, like our key thing that's different about anything else that I've seen is, I'll say it in two parts. Well, so love, it's all about love, but love is confronting dysfunction. Fear comforts dysfunction, throws the pillow in the cage. Like, you're in a cage, but, well, it's not that bad, and you'll throw a pillow in it. That's actually fear comforting the dysfunction so the people stay there. Love actually confronts dysfunction, says, hey, that's dysfunctional right there. That meaning it's not judgment on you, but what you're doing does not function. you're not performing your function as a creator right now. So we confront that. But so that's the one aspect of love confronts dysfunction. But now how we do it is the other key, is we put the fun in dysfunction. We literally have fun doing it. We've got a game. We call it dysfunction, but it's we call it the litter box. We put it in the middle of our table. We have breakfast together. The whole village has breakfast together. But we got the litter box that we put right in the middle of the table. And what goes in a litter box is shit. So anytime, right? And so it's right in the middle of our table, but it's like, but what it is, how you know if you got shit is if you experience anything other than peace, love, and joy. Because because love is all there is. Everybody says that, knows that, but most people aren't living that. I mean, hardly anybody is living that, because they're perceiving something to be bigger than love. And how do you know? Because they're experiencing something other than love. So if anything other than love comes up inside of you, throw it in the box. Don't hide it. Don't like, I'm okay. I'm fine. No, you're not fine. No, you can see it. Don't hide it. Throw it in the box. If you don't throw it in the box, I'll throw it in the box. Like, so if you find it inside of yourself, or you see somebody else like going through something, you throw it in the box and you confront the dysfunction, but we turn it into a game. So when it goes in the litter box, it's whose ever shit it was, that is their shit. But when it comes out, it's our shit. And we all do the work. And so how you win the game is to find the dysfunction in you. Like, how you win is what in the old world would be called losing, because you admit that you were wrong. So you find, like, every one of us find, okay, how did we do that? Where's that inside of me? Like, that was their shit, but that's in me too. And we all find it inside of ourselves. And then we got different breakthrough processes we do. And then we all come together through, like, no, I say life is an 18-inch journey from the head to the heart, from the mind through the emotions to the heart. So we go through the emotions, through the real self, from the ideal self through the real self into the true self. And so we do that like every morning at breakfast. So we do preemptive evolution rather than forced evolution. We don't wait for the cosmic 2x4 to bang us over the head. We're doing the work by choice rather than by chance.
Yeah. Proactively addressing all of that stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think I love that. I just think that that's needed. I think, again, it comes back to the cultural thing, and that's a really great example of like actually putting that into practice. It's one thing to like just talk about, we're purpose oriented kind of thing, but another thing to actually have those sort of rituals to like on a daily basis, weekly basis, etc., to ingrain that and really proactively bring those emotions up and whatnot and deal with them in a great way. And like, to be honest, some people like, we'll get like comments on our ads be like, oh, you want to go live off grid and live with some friends and blah, blah, sounds like a cult. And it's like, well, I don't know what to say to that sometimes, because I'm like, it's a cultural thing, and that's what's needed. And that's what humans have been doing in tribal days for thousands upon thousands of years. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really needed, because without it, everything just falls apart, which is kind of what we see in the rest of society right now.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this so far. We don't actually do advertisements on our podcast to keep it clean for you, but we did make a video for you that shows you how we started out broke and managed to buy 160 acres and build our off-grid sanctuary, and how we made $30K a month with it. It's completely free if you want it. Find the link in the description or find us on social to go get it. If you think we're a good fit, we would love to help you achieve your goals for land and freedom and for bringing your gifts to the world.
Oh yeah, we get that cult all the time. Everybody's always calling us a cult. I guess like, all right, whatever, dude. Think as you will. But so there, there are, there have been cults like throughout the Jim Jones and all that stuff. It's that there is some, there's validity to it, and there's also the programming, and the people are programmed to just, if they can't, if what you're doing confronts their dysfunction, they have to put what you're doing inside of a box that makes what you're doing wrong, so that they can okay, I don't have to deal with what's going on inside of it. Because we're inside of everyone's heart right now. Everybody wants community. Everybody wants to, they don't like, nobody loves to be just divided like we are right now. And we were created for community. We're not created to be these lone wolves out there. That's literally what humanity is. And so when someone sees this beautiful thing, it calls to them, but if they're not willing to do the work to take the steps forward to let their hearts sing and speak and contribute, if they're not willing to take that step, then they've got to find a way to shun it, to shove it away, so that the heart goes, okay, calms back down. Like, it's like, move the thing away so the heart can't see the thing. Like, no, that's a bad thing. So then it just goes back to sleep, and then the person goes back to sleep and goes right back into their zombie world and into their trance again. So it's time to send in the trance, but how you're going to do that is by facing your dysfunction, by facing your discomfort, rather than putting something in a box and calling it something so you don't have to take a look.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many casitas, you mentioned you're building casitas for the community. Like, how many folks or people or casitas or whatnot or units do you plan on having in your village?
Yeah, again, this one we'll have probably max at about 30 permanent residents. At this one, we got like 15 now, I think. We got more on the way. Like, there's a couple more moving in. Like, there's one we're testing out right now. She just got here like 2 days ago, so that's a new one. There's another new one that is coming in like a few days. So yeah, they'll just keep. But we're gonna have there's gonna be like 1, 2. I think we got 25 casitas total. Is what will when it's done, and then but there'll be. There's a bunk room already. There's going to be like a few more bunk rooms as well for like people coming through and things like that.
So for and that's on 5 acres. So that's
the 5 acres, yeah.
So for the 50-acre one, you could do potentially
a couple hundred,
10 times as much, potentially.
Yeah, that's what we see. A couple hundred casitas on that one.
Beautiful. So yes, I saw the design of those, and yeah, they look super cool. So that's what you're building now, and you mentioned there's a contracting company doing all that.
Yeah, and he's freaking awesome. I mean, I just talked to the one guy, and he's a younger guy too. He's probably like 35 or something, but he's just so clear. And I tell him what, like, literally yesterday. So we got we got 2 more casitas that are going up, but I just shared with him, I think it was yesterday morning. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday morning. I shared with him, okay, this is what this one is going to be. And I kind of drew a little sketch on a piece of paper. Like, it's the 3 floors. Here's what they look like. And I gave it to him, and literally that evening, all of a sudden I have a complete 3-dimensional design of the whole thing. And it's exactly what it's exactly what I asked for. It's so wild to have people that literally can that easily just give you exactly what you asked for. But this dude is like that. And then he runs the whole team. Like, I never have to talk to anybody here. And these dudes, it was a little annoying at first, was that they're at 6 a.m. on the dot, they're there 7 days a week. And they're building these out of steel. It's like bang, 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 zing, bang, 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 bang. And like, whoa. But we've come to absolutely love it, because they're singing too. They start singing at 6 a.m. Oh, and they start having just so much fun. But yeah, it's amazing. I don't know how they do it. It's like they're popping these things up, and it's like real, just amazing construction, like better work than I've ever seen in the United States. And it's wild. It's so easy. I don't know, but I guess that's what happens when you got the faith.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. It's one thing we get a lot is that people think that they kind of have to build everything themselves. So they'll go into it being like, well, I don't know anything about construction. So we always try to, let people know that you don't need to know anything about construction. And sounds like you guys have found a really awesome partner to come in and help you do that, and then found an awesome way to fund it as well. So that's sweet. So I want to you bought the property, you took possession January 11th, so that's about a year, because right now it's like February 3rd or so. So roughly a year ago. Since then you've basically raised 3.2 million, roughly, plus and then a portion. So you've raised 3.2 million, like, kind of total, and then the original cost of the land was 800, and you offered roughly 1.1 million. But then most of that was owner finance, so you can pay over time, which I think is an awesome way to structure a deal like that. A lot of folks don't really consider that, and we've had some clients have a lot of success with that, where they'll go in and they'll be like, property. We have a client where a property's worth like 4.5 million or something in the States for a tiny home community. And they went in and they actually got the original owners to knock off about 2 million of that, which is huge, because then when you go to have to raise funds elsewhere, you're raising half the amount. So your ask is way lower. So I think that's such an awesome tool. So you brought that down from what was 800,000 down to 250. And how did you bring in that 250?
It was one of our original members that was here. She wound up selling her house. So she had an house in Austin, Texas. So she sold, and it was kind of like this was her dream home. It was like, this was her. She was going to retire there. Like, she loved it. But there's this phrase that the biggest obstacle to a great life is a good one. And so she had a good life, and but once, like, it was time. Okay, are you in or like, we doing this? And there's no, it's no turning back. And she's like, so she sold her house and had the money to then we could put that down. So that's how it started. Was somebody sold their house that they thought they were going to have forever, going to live, retire, and like that was
Wow.
it. They gave up their dream for a bigger one.
Wow. Yeah, that's a big move for sure. So you raised the 250 as well, which is, yeah, that's pretty cool. So essentially you went into this, you started with nothing, and you raised right through, and now you're building this amazing community. That's super, super inspiring.
Yeah, even when my wife Mel and I came down the first time, we literally had zero money. I mean, we like, I don't know, we might have had like a couple grand, but we came down for 4 months and when we came down here, again, we're just saying yes to what we knew we were supposed to do. But we wound up staying at this like 5-star retreat center, and we didn't know nobody was there. We thought that other people were there, but we wound up we were the only people there for this whole entire retreat center. It's on 100 acres, and it wound up not costing us anything. But it was supposed to be $10,000 a month to stay there. So we stayed there for 4 months. That's $40,000, and all of our needs were met. The only people that were there was the housekeepers and the chefs. And so literally we're getting 3 meals a day of this amazing meals, like literally full on chefs that are making us our meals, ring a little bell for breakfast, bing, and we're just in this amazing retreat center. And we got a maid just coming in, cleaning up everything right after us, and we're like living like kings and queens. And we never didn't cost us anything. So a lot of people will think, well, they're literally they're putting money on this big pedestal, and they don't even realize they're doing it because we've been programmed to do it. It's that we've been culturally to the almighty dollar. But I'm telling you, if you'll just follow the purpose, follow the calling, it will follow. The money will follow you as long as you're following your heart. And I've watched it just over and over, and it just keeps coming in. But you got to have the faith, and you've got to be willing to you can't get in this energy of I don't have enough. There's a Bible verse, as those who have will be given more, those who have not, even what they have will be taken from them. But it's because it's a belief system. If you believe that you have not, then so be it, where the whole entire universe will bow down to you and say, okay, you don't have enough, then even what you have will be taken from you. So you have to say, no matter what I have, it's enough for like what I'm being called to do. If I'm being called to do this, then love's going to write the check. And you got to have that. You got to have that knowing, and when you have that knowing, and you got the faith, and you do the works that back up, that show your faith, because you're walking. Other than just talking, you're actually talking and walking, and that's where people are like, I got faith. Well, how come you're not walking? If you're just talking, it doesn't work. Faith without works is dead. It just died right there. You might have had faith, but it died when you didn't step. So just keep stepping, and I'm telling you, it happens. It just comes in like more than you could imagine. So.
Yeah, I love hearing that. Seems very, very much everything you're saying really aligns with kind of a lot of the stuff that that we've experienced on our journey, that we hear from clients and whatnot. And also, yeah, just I mean, for us, everyone's always asking, where to start, and we give them, the steps on where to start, but it's really you just have to start. You just have to go out and do something, and that could mean like going out and talking to people in a random cafe, or just talking to friends of friends, or like whatever, just like getting a plan down of some sort, a vision down of some sort, and just bringing that out into the world. And for just in unfathomable reasons that I've tried to explain and write on paper, things just start to become attracted to you. And like, I mean, there's lots of theories, but I think one is I'm a spiritual person, so for me, like, it's very easy for me to like understand that. But there's also like, the series of, or the theory of it's like 6 points of connection, where you're actually only 6 people away from anyone else on the planet. So when you think about networking, I'm like meeting the right people, it's actually like you only really need people in your little spot, and you already have a couple friends and family. So that's point one. So, and then it reduces that 6 to like 3. So like if you're just trying to find people in your area, you're only 3 people away from them. Which makes it a lot easier to think about. Like, you could go meet anyone. And we've heard so many stories of that, where people will go and they're looking to, buy some land, and they, just like you said, they were rolling out the blueprints for this thing, and someone walked by in the cafe and they're like, hey, I own that place right across the street. And it turns out this person owns thousands of acres, and then they offered to invest in that project just from them taking those steps. So I love hearing that.
Yeah. So that this last million that just came in, that was from, we've got a girl living in our village. She was actually our first villager. But she was walking in faith. Like, she made it here. Like, it was a wild journey on how she got here, but she's just she's living here. And we didn't know she had any money. Like, she actually didn't have any money, but her mom had money. We didn't know that. And all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, because she started visualize. She's like, I'm gonna have, because she was living just in a room, but she's like, I'm gonna have that house right there. We're like, okay, yeah, you're gonna have. She's like, no, I see a vision. I'm gonna have that, and I'm gonna build a family in that. Like, here at the village, we're like, yeah, okay, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. I don't think you're gonna be able to come up. And we're kind of just thinking, like, she's just talking. Well, then all of a sudden, we do an event here called Awaken Life Live. We were just doing it online for a couple of years when we couldn't do it live, but now we got our village and we're allowed to do it live. So we're doing it live here again. And so, this is a great story, actually. So we're doing the Awaken Life Live event. It's our 3-day event. And so we got one coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. But we were putting on the event, and this girl's mom she says, I'm going to come to the event. And so she winds up coming to the event. We find out later that the reason that she came to the event was because, like, her husband, which was the girl's dad, and all of their friends, everybody said that we were a cult, and like we were like trying to we were trying to like make her have a baby so we could eat her baby, or some, I don't know, just some weird stuff, right? And so the reason the mom came was to come get her out of here. Like, that she was like coming in to come take her passport and get her out of here. That was the whole reason she showed up to the event. But then the lady she's sitting there, and she's like, and I'm watching her because I'm the main presenter at the event, and I'm watching this lady. She is like listening to every word. She doesn't take her eye off. But everybody else is like, most of the time they're engaged, but they'll lose attention every now and again. But this lady, not for a second did she take her eyes off of me, and she's like listening to every word. And I didn't know it was because she was trying to find out if I was a cult leader or something. But she was also growing and learning. And by the end of it, she's like, wow, like I love this place. Like I'm in, right? And so she, it wound up the girl that living in our community that we didn't know was connected to any money whatsoever. Her mom, thinking she's going to come in and save her from this cult, winds up being the woman with the money. Like, here you go, here's $1 million.
Wow, I love that. Just like a total flop from from like, thinking that to like, coming in and just straight up investing $1 million. That's crazy. And I mean, we have a similar story around our first investor actually was like, he was our mortgage partner. I knew I wanted to do this project, and him and I were like enemies, like brutal enemies, in high school. And like I'm talking like full on death threats. And we come from an area where
Nice.
that's actually taken fairly seriously because, there's been some, I won't get into it, but it was very significant. And so like brutal enemies. And then I started like later in life, I just kind of messaged him, said, hey, I don't know, something came across me. And I just messaged him and said, hey, would you want to like grab coffee and just kind of like call a truce and let's just like kind of talk it out after like all these years later. And he would say no, and the reason later, I didn't know this, he said no because we both actually thought that the other was going to attack one another. Like we thought that we were trying to like lure someone in. Yeah. So we kept saying no, and then finally like, okay, sure, yeah. Like, so we like it's in a public place and whatnot, and we go for coffee, and and then like one conversation, and by the end of it, he was our mortgage partner to come and buy the property. So like crazy how it could go from one thing totally to something else, and it was, yeah, it was super cool. We're coming up on an hour, so I guess one last question. I'm curious if there's anything specific about our program or community that you found valuable.
I mean, I saw an ad pop up and I'm like, hey, what's this? And because I needed to raise money, like because I saw it and I'm like, well, I got this mortgage payment coming up. I'm like, well, I need to raise money. And so you had like and I've never been like a structures and documents and all that. Like, it's just never been my thing. I'm a heart guy. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe they got what I need here. And I started like watching, your stuff, going through and like trying to figure out how to create these executive orders and these documents and everything. I'm like, that's not and I'm trying to give it to my team and like, no, but I don't know. But somehow my wife has this little quote that she says, God's plans always never make sense. And it's never like, going back to what we just both talked about. There's another thing that I say, you always reap what you sow, but you don't always reap where you sow. And it's just the step, like take the step, like take the step that moves in the direction of what, like, what you need, get clarity on what it is what you need, what you're looking for, and then take a step in that direction. And whether you get what you needed from that specific thing or if it comes from somewhere else, what was important is that you took the step, because that's what kind of rearranges the world around you. So the most important thing was that I saw someone in this world that's like, hey, this is a thing and you can raise money. And because I paid for it and invested in your program. And that's where the profit is from the investment in myself, believing that I wouldn't have, done it unless I believed in it. And because I believed in it, faith is what makes it happen. So, but you believed it was possible that I could raise this money, and I'm like, okay, I believe it's possible. I took the step, I invested in your program, and I'm telling you, that's what made it work. It even like I used to teach real estate investing, and I would notice there'd be like two people would be doing the exact same thing, but getting completely different results. And the difference between the two is one believed that it would work and the other didn't believe that it would work. And just literally that faith is what makes it work. It's less about the tools that you get. It's more about the faith. The faith is what makes it work. The tools are just kind of like, what you package the actions in so that you can receive the thing. So I just love who you are in this world. I love what you're doing because it is time for this and for you to be up there telling people it's possible. It's possible. Like I also say, we don't vote at the polls. We vote with our dollar bills. Put your money where your values are, magnify the missions that you believe in. So I believe in what you're doing. And, it was an honor to actually get to here's money so you can do what you're doing for more people. I want to magnify you in this world. I want to give you to more people because more people need you and the faith that you have and you're giving them steps that they can take to move forward. So that's what I love most is just you're saying it's possible and it's probable if you'll just listen and take the steps.
Beautiful. Wow, very well put. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. That was very, very kind, very inspiring. This has been awesome. I mean, we could sit here and we could definitely chat for hours and hours, but honestly, as soon as we're able to get on a flight, I think we'd love to just come down and
Oh,
visit
yeah.
you. Yeah, that'd be super amazing. And
Come on down.
that would be so great.
You can, I don't know, anything's possible. So if you can, like next weekend, we got our Awaken Life event. If you can get down here next weekend, it would be you'd be glad you did. So
Beautiful.
for our 3-day event, but yeah, you're good to go. Like I'll host you. Like we'll get a spot for you. You don't have to worry about get yourself down here. And
All right. Yeah, this is awesome. Well, thank you so much. This is super exciting. Well, yeah, let's we'll stay connected. You're in all the groups, so we'll be chatting further and we'll stay updated on the project and come down and check it out as soon as we can.
Cool. Appreciate
All right.
it.
Thank you. We'll chat soon. Have a good
All
rest of your day.
You too.